Three things, massive things that people are missing with FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, and the scandal going on that is rocking the crypto world and the legacy financial world. The scandal that just won't go away, or is it going away? How come no one's really paying attention? That's what we're going to dive into today, how it affects you every single day of your life, and the exact problem with the system we have, and why the rich keep getting richer, the 1%, and the rest of us just keep being squashed down. If there was ever an example that touched every single generation, from young people, 20-year-old getting stimmy checks, putting into Robinhood, all the way up to the oldest people in society, this touches literally every single person, because it's your money, it's your wealth, and every generation is invested in this. This is why this is so important. And this is what Bitcoin is stopping. This is what Bitcoin is out there trying to clean up and trying to tell people, get out of the system, unplug from this old legacy network. All you gotta do is pick your chips up, move them over here to this table. Just play a different game. The system's already built. It's already here. Go play a different game. Could there be an agenda? Could there be an agenda with FTX and what's going on here? Let's dive in, because I think you're going to be pretty surprised. I've seen this come up, these couple points here and there throughout media, and maybe some more alternative media, but boy, the mainstream media is sure doing their job to cover this right up, aren't they? This is an absolute travesty. It's disgusting. Bitcoin, and then there's crypto. First, let's be real here. There's Bitcoin, and then there's all the other altcoins, all the other scam coins, all other crypto. Just like Fidelity said in their 30-page report that was earlier, I believe in January of 2022, you can check it out. Bitcoin First, it's called. Check that out. That explained in detail why, with charts, with fundamentals, everything, why Bitcoin is so different, the technology behind Bitcoin and the discovery of Bitcoin, the hardest money we've ever had, and then everything else. Everything else is literally a scam. S-C-A-M. Scam. Like day spa. D-A-I-Y-E. Zoolander reference for all of you. There's no other way around it. And we're going to continue getting rug pulled in the legacy system through the traditional banking, which is a Ponzi as well. And you're going to keep getting rug pulled in crypto. These scams where billionaire VCs are out there. You are just exit liquidity. That's all you are. They're showing you monkey JPEGs, pictures of monkeys, and people are just eating it up. And still to this day are backing it, are fighting for it, making a case for it. And we've all been there to some degree. It's incumbent on the people who have the truth on their side to wake people up, though. That's really all this is about. That's literally it. And again, FTX, the spillover effects pull down Bitcoin's price. And most people, again, are thinking of Bitcoin in terms of price. That's the wrong way. That's the least interesting aspect of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is about freedom and sovereignty and leveling the playing field for every person on earth. A world currency, decentralized, that no one controls. Even Michael Saylor, to whoever the top 4, 5, 10 addresses are that have tons and tons of Bitcoin, they have no more power in the network than you do. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. Think about that. Where in the current system, we have Wall Street. They have the power. The banking system, the cartels, Bank of International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund, they have the power. They're the ones sprinkling their propaganda all over, doing whatever and beating you over the face with whatever propaganda they want, because they control the media, they control the corporations, they control the money printer. So they just take all of your taxes and then they print more on top of that and then cause inflation, so your life gets more and more expensive, and they just sprinkle it wherever they want to push propaganda, whatever propaganda that it is, whatever insane thing, and that gets people riled up on both sides, so that way they fight each other, and then they can just keep stealing your wealth by inflating the currency, enriching themselves, front-running, politicians getting 100 times wealthier in the matter of a decade or two, things like that, simple stuff. Again, don't be confused here. Bitcoin is not crypto, and crypto is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the hardest asset we've ever had on earth. Full stop. Just focus on that, please, for the sake of freedom, liberty, sovereignty, your future. It's great because it makes cheap sats for us, and I'm a free market capitalist merit person, so people should get rug pulled. If you are susceptible to getting rug pulled and you don't do your due diligence, you don't do your homework, you should get rug pulled. That's how humans learn. When we fall off the bike, we get back up again. When we're trying to walk or we're trying to learn how to skate and we keep falling, that's how we get better. That's how we learn. So these things have to happen, unfortunately. Now, what I'm trying to do, what many people in the Bitcoin space and education space are trying to do, is try to get as many people off of that fiat sinking Titanic as possible and get as many people onto the life rafts as we can. Because we don't want that. We don't want Biff Tannen's Pleasure Paradise, Back to the Future 2, where you have to go to get gas at the gas station with a shotgun in your car. We don't want that wealth gap getting so out of control that it's just chaos on Earth and no one can do anything, because that's not fun. Having all the wealth in the world wouldn't matter at that point. Having all the Bitcoin, having all the money, having all the real estate, whatever, it wouldn't matter. Because that would be disaster. Your kids have to live through that. Your grandchildren, you yourself have to live through that. Let's not do that. Let's learn lessons. Let's watch someone walk through the street, not look and get hit by a car, and learn that lesson. We don't, as human beings, we don't need to learn that lesson and know we shouldn't look. We should look across the road. We know inherently we should look when we're crossing the road here. We don't have to learn it ourselves. We can watch other people. So let's watch other people in this digital information invisible space, learn our lessons so that we don't have the same things happen to us. Bitcoin is a decentralized computing network that has nothing to do with any exchanges, none of these other altcoins, nothing, none of this, completely different. The reason exchanges are blowing up is because they're all creating their own fake tokens, things that are built on nothing, using them as collateral and using fractional reserve lending, where we heard that before, legacy system, rehypothecating customers' deposits, where we heard that before, which is kind of like what the banks do, where they take your deposits and then lend them out and have no reserves in the bank. This is where bank runs come in. So when people get scared, just like in crypto or in the legacy banking system, they do a bank run. And they go to the bank, try to get their money out or their tokens, and when there's nothing there for them to take, and everyone gets word of that, then it speeds up and the banker or the lender goes down because they lent out more than they had in reserve. And mind you, we have a zero reserve in the legacy banking system. In March of 2020, we had a very little reserve. They moved it down to zero, and it's still at zero. Again, newsflash, banks are required to have nothing on their books. You go and deposit the cash, they don't have to keep any of it. There's no reserves. It's not backed by anything. It's backed by nothing other than the barrel of a gun. That's it. It's a confidence game. It's a con game. That's all it is. They cannot satisfy customer deposits and they go under because they lent out more than they had in reserves. Bingo. Bankruptcy. Gone. Crypto is the legacy fiat charade where there are a few people at the top who hold the power and the rest are pawns. Here is the Ethereum pyramid. This is how the legacy banking system works, the legacy financial system, and how the crypto altcoin scam casinos work. The exchanges and the coins all work on this pyramid. He who has the most coin rules. This is how they all work. The pre-mines, the ICOs, all this stuff, they are owners of the system. These people they run on centralized servers. They all say they're DeFi, decentralized. They run on centralized servers. Infura or Amazon, Consensus, they shut down one switch, boom, gone. Network's gone. They can have control over you. Again, 70-80% of all blocks in Ethereum are OFAC compliant. They are captured coins. These are, this is the #2 market cap, and it's already captured within a month or two of going proof of stake. And that in and of itself tells you, the name tells you that it is captured and that he who has the top coins or the most coins rules. Proof of stake. Whoever has the highest stake rules. That's it. Proof of work is the real discovery here. That's why Bitcoin is so powerful. It's proof of work. Actually having to put in the work. You can't just rely on what you've done in the past. You have to get up and prove yourself every single day. That's the beauty of proof of work, meaning whoever provides the most value and the most service, whether it's a guy digging ditches, working at McDonald's, or working at Goldman Sachs, whoever's providing value that day and working their butt off, they win. Leveling the playing field. That's it. This is exactly what Bitcoin is set out to solve. This legacy problem of he who has the most rules. And this oligarchy, monarchy, done. Even if Sam Bankman-Fried wasn't funneling money, which we'll talk about later, we know exactly what's possible now. We know exactly that we all have a front row seat to how the legacy system works. In a Bitcoin world, it's very hard to do. Probably not impossible, because you're always going to have people trying to scam the system somehow, creating more paper Bitcoin than is out there, but it's going to be a lot more transparent. People are going to have different interest rates for things. But people are incentivized, this is the thing, people are incentivized in a Bitcoin world to be rational actors and not rug pull people, or else you go out of business very quickly. Or just provide, simple interest rates, things like that, because it will make the most sense to operate in that world because of transparency and because you have Bitcoin that goes up in purchasing power over time. So you're not continually trying to scam people left and right. A world where you don't have to worry or trust someone to manage your money 24/7 and be a professional investor just to get ahead. A deflationary money. And I know George Gammon, someone said that you can't have a deflationary money. Well, you can because it's capped. And I forget how he's explained it now, but you have a deflationary money because it is capped, which then doesn't allow people to be printing more of that, and it will allow more transparency. So that way, people that are printing more receipts or claims on Bitcoin, like FTX, these people blow up. And then they're not bailed out. It's great. It's wonderful. Meaning you have to do your due diligence. And then that forces the discernment muscle in all of us to do more due diligence. And that just incentivizes further good behavior. SBF took millions of dollars, and he can still give it to whoever. He's still running around. He's still giving New York Times speeches. Why aren't these people, look at all these all-stars on here. Why aren't these people saying, not doing that, not doing that, not going, that guy's there. You know, absolutely, if Donald Trump was coming to one of these people would all be backing out. Oh boy, threat to democracy. Even Elon Musk now. Why are these people so fine with, SBF's there? Because there's more to the story. That's why we're trying to get into more questioning. I don't have all the proof in the world. I'm just one guy, right? But when there's tons of smoke, there's a fire somewhere. Boy, if I know where it is, someone's got to find it. There's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke billowing out of that house over there. There's got to be a fire somewhere. Again, how is he running around weeks after? I believe Madoff was done within 24 hours. He was already in handcuffs. This guy's just running around. Totally fine. Stole, 8, 10, 40 billion, whatever it is, of money from other people. Their time, wealth, and energy. Their wealth, which is their time and energy, they stole that. Their livelihood. All the time they could have spent with their family, other people, doing other things they wanted to do. Nope, stole it. He's out there giving speeches still. Heck, he's on Twitter Spaces soon. He's going to be with a big crypto guy doing a Spaces soon, answering questions like he's some martyr. Incredible. Truly, truly disgusting. At the end of the day, these people still win in inflationary monetary systems. The bad people still continue to win in inflationary monetary systems. A system that's designed to win like the house at the casino. This is why Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar and give to God what is God. He knew the inflationary system that was being played. He knew that they were clipping coins, that they were debasing the currency, the metals at that time. You're not going to be able to play that game. He knew. Even Jesus himself knew and talked about this. This is why he said, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Because when you're continually focusing and making decisions based on just getting more currency, inflationary currency every day, it's a losing proposition. It's very hard, if not impossible, for the average person to do that. Only the top 10%, 5%, 1% can do that. Buying assets, working their assets, and doing that. Literally. This is why a deflationary money, and one that is very hard to be corrupted and transparent, and creates more wealth for people over time, no matter what job they're doing, is a healthier money. Look at our country and the disasters it finds itself in, culturally, energy, monetarily, voting, liberties. It's a disaster. This is what inflationary societies do. This is how these empires always are collapsing. It's the debasement of money and the loss of God. Which one goes first? Someone, by the way, go check out our videos talking about that. Someone with $10 million might think they're winning in the short term, but they're losing because their money system is broken. In a few years, they're going to have to go to the grocery store, get gas with a shotgun sitting in their car, like we talked about earlier, like it's pleasure paradise. Because when gas is $100 a gallon, or $10 or $50 or $1,000 a gallon, or $100 for a loaf of bread, how far is that 10 million going to go? 10 million doesn't really get you much anymore. Fix the money, fix the world. Separation of money and state. This will level the playing field for all. The three big things that people are missing with FTX and not talking about much, really at all, like I mentioned earlier. One, the ruling class, and this is what's really important, the ruling class trying to buck you off the wagon. Do not get bucked off the Bitcoin wagon. They are trying to kick out the average guy so big money can get in. This is so incredibly important. I've got a bunch of examples here. Remember all the people getting into the dot-com bubble 20 years ago? They were front-running Wall Street. Wall Street realized that they were on the wrong side of the trade, and they scared out the average guy in order to pile in first, and then let the normies come back into the trade. Bingo, they get to make all the money, the average guy gets slaughtered, and Wall Street just pulled the rug on everybody. Rug pulled, boom. This is the same game being played all over again. The same thing, I presume, is happening here in Bitcoin. How can it not feel like that when you have these news headlines just in the last year alone? Maybe money of these just in the last few months. So we have Bitcoin's price getting crushed. Just crushed. All this contagion, all this crazy stuff going on. People saying, you can barely even talk to people about Bitcoin, the hardest asset we've ever discovered as human beings. You can't even, it's so hard to get 1 in 100 people to even talk about that. Think about that. The hardest, most pristine asset we've ever discovered in our life. And you can't even get people to talk about it. They would rather have an inflationary currency. I've even seen people say, well, I'd rather have a currency that loses 10% of value guaranteed every month than one that swings down 75% in a couple months or a year. But yet you zoom out and you see the dollar just gets destroyed by 100% over the last 50 years, 100 years, and Bitcoin just keeps going up and to the right. But they're only looking like this week to week. right? Most people are only looking a few days in advance. They're only planning out their life a few days in advance, maybe to the next weekend or maybe a couple weeks ahead to the next vacation or something. They're not zooming out and seeing years at a time. That is probably the most destructive thing for investing and just for people's livelihoods, is not being able to zoom out and see a year at a glance, a 10 years at a glance. Look at your lifetime. What are your goals? So here, the fundamentals could not be better. We've shared this before. Hash rate at all-time highs, Lightning Network at all-time highs. These fundamentals could not be bigger. More and more wallets. People taking 950, I think now into cold storage, 950,000 wallets that that have over one Bitcoin in them, I believe. The record number of people taking out into cold storage. So this is happening. The fundamentals cannot be higher yet, and you have these things being silently done in the background by BlackRock via Coinbase piling in quietly this year. So again, launching a Bitcoin trust just in the last couple months. These are massive, massive things. One of the biggest fund managers, I believe, asset managers in the world, if not the biggest. Trillions, tens of trillions of dollars that is available now, and that these people are piling in the background while they keep crushing the price into getting the average guy out of the trade. Fidelity, another one of the biggest custodians, asset managers in the world, announcing their customers can now invest just in the last couple months as well. These are both just in the last 2 or 3 months. New York Bank Mellon, again, one of the oldest banks in the country, to my knowledge, again saying they have a platform for Ether. This is just in October, a month or two ago, announcing they will be in. And then you've got the kind of flip side. SEC and the regulators won't approve a spot ETF. Why won't they? SEC rejecting Grayscale spot Bitcoin ETF again. This is just from a couple months ago. But we can do futures and short ETFs, though. That helps to drive the price down. So you see all these confluence of events. The fundamentals can never be better. They're trying to drive the price down. We got rates here in a second we're talking about. Rates driving things down, the shorts ETF and the futures ETF. Yet we've got all the big guys piling in the background, not to mention the people that piled in 2020 and 2021, which people in 2021, a lot of them aren't necessarily up and running yet and have all their clients buying in yet, right? They're just waiting. They've been waiting, positioning themselves appropriately. So again, ProShares launches first U.S. short Bitcoin ETF. SEC approves another Bitcoin futures ETF. I think there's multiple, because I think there was one in November that came out, and this one's in April. So this is a hint at a future spot Bitcoin ETF again, so it's approved, so it's not out. But I wanted to put that because I want to show you they've already approved it. SEC, and again, I think there was one that came out that marked the high in Bitcoin in November. And I don't know if it was GBTC. I can't remember who had it. Anyway, it's not the point. But they're approving these short ETFs and these futures ETFs like it's no problem. Yet spot ETFs, no, can't get them. Over and over again, being applied for, can't get them. And then rising rates in general, as we know, will crush all assets. And like, again, here, massive shorting of certain companies that might not be 100% to take them down or to actually take them down like FTX was allegedly doing to other firms. So again, we have short sellers, we got hedge funds that are, in these asset managers and custodians that are doing the work of, we have BlackRock's in bed with the WF. So are they in there shorting the price of Bitcoin on these short ETFs to keep it down and drive it down so that the way they can get into the trade, just like allegedly FTX was doing to these other firms, these other crypto firms to blow them up. What was the reason behind all this? Again, these things have to make you question. Not saying that this is all completely right or that I have all the information in the world, but when there's a ton of smoke, there's probably fire somewhere, generally, right? So we have to start asking questions, and it's being a good citizen, a good child of God, just to say, okay, what's going on here? I have to take a breath, take a step back here, ask what's going on, question with boldness, as we talked about yesterday. Thomas Jefferson. Number 2, was FTX possibly laundering money? Again, these are things, 3 huge things that very few people are really talking about. Again, have to ask why. Was FTX possibly laundering money to enrich themselves and keep power by stealing your time and energy, your wealth, stealing people's money, their deposits, funneling money through exchanges and blowing them up to force liquidations and regulations? Oh, now we got to come in there. We know SBF was friends with Maxine Waters and Gary Gensler and the SEC and all politicians, and he's in there hobnobbing. And was it a plan the whole time to say, oh, now we got to get regulations. We're blowing these things up. Look how bad it is. Oh, my goodness. And to funnel money to politicians on both sides, allies in Eastern Europe and regulators? I don't know. Maybe, if I can spell Europe correctly. Again, here we have the AP post-spin baseless theory about FTX, Ukraine, and Democrats. Well, they verified. They fact-checked it, guys. So now we know for sure that, yep, that's probably the case. If AP is fact-checking it, Yep, now we know we're safe. No, I'm just kidding. It's the exact opposite. We now know that that's confirmation. That was the confirmation we're looking for. And ironically, that when I Google searched, that was the first thing that came up. It was telling us how wrong that is. And they fact checked it. So we're good to go, guys. If you believe that, I've got some oceanfront property to sell you in Nebraska. Question. Money, incentives, follow the money. All the money they stole with people's livelihoods. Again, your wealth is your time and energy. Literally time and energy spent away from their families for years. They invested in this kid who's a pawn for the ruling class at the top. At least it smells like that. Then he's still being paraded around like a victim in speaking engagements with the New York Times, like we said earlier, alongside other billionaires who just act like nothing happened. How come Zuck and others aren't protesting and pulling out of their engagements? You know, like we said earlier, again, this would happen if it was Donald Trump. All animals are equal. Some are just more equal than others. The game is being played on each and every one of us. How is this happening? And the average person is okay being insulted and told they're an idiot right to their face, or just indirectly, I guess. But look, again, you can Google very easily all these connections, and again, I don't know. I'm not an investigative journalist, reporter, but our job is to raise questions and to find the right people who are going to be able to have the time, energy, money to be able to go investigate these things at a high level. Presumably, our representatives, litigators, investigative journalists, people that are paid and literally doing this. But the fact that these connections, there's so many of them. Like, again, if you put me where Sam Bankman-Fried's picture was, I don't have any of those connections. Like, I don't have that. I'm sure you watching this, you don't have any of these connections either. So, again, there was smoke, there's fire. How can you have so many connections, yet, oh, it wasn't me, it wasn't us. Like, even if only 30% of that is true, or 50% of what happened was true, like, that's egregious. It's disgusting. So, like, what's going on here? Right? Like, again, this is a very simple meme of what's going on, right? Of funneling money to certain parties. And again, it was done on both sides and back to certain candidates. And then those are given to a certain country that's at war right now. And then those people just, ironically partner with a certain exchange and the cycle continues. That's your tax dollars at work. Again, Donald J. Trump apparently retruthed that. I've been seeing this meme everywhere on Twitter. I'm not on Truth Social, so who knows? But again, I've been seeing this memes everywhere. And again, like I said, someone should look into these things. No? Like, what are we doing here? What game are we playing? Are we just going to keep going along and just like turning a blind eye, whistling by the graveyard? And number 3, finally, let's wrap this up. An unproductive class wants to get regulations in for Bitcoin and crypto. I think the other 2 points are the most important. But the other point, like I mentioned, number 1, is that they want some regulations. They want to get crypto regulated. They want to get their fees. They want to get their taxes on it, whatever. And this provides cover. These blowups provide cover so they can make it harder for people to be sovereign and take custody of their property. Of course, duh. Massive FUD campaigns, fear, uncertainty, and doubt from the media to the WEF, the World Economic Forum, to scare people out of Bitcoin, like we kind of been talking about. Crypto is one of the big casinos where the ruling class is playing games and laundering money, it seems. It's tons of smoke, tons of smoke. Bitcoin is a true threat to their money monopoly. They know that. They know they cannot stop it. They know they can only potentially slow it down. At the very least, scare people out of the trade and jump in themselves, back to point number 1, which would be a win in their eyes. Then they get the profit, kind of like they did in the 90s. As Clark Clipton says, Bitcoin taking over is inevitable, but the adoption could take 10 years or 100 years. We want to win the race. We don't have to fight the war. And as Michael Saylor says, we don't want to be martyrs. We want to win. We want money for all. We want a level playing field for all people on the earth. How can you help, as Bucky Fuller said, how can you help the most amount of people possible? If you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. I think that was Zig Ziglar. We have the chance to change this by voting in true free market capitalists who respect freedom and understand sound money. Again, voting is one way. The ammo box, the ballot box, but again, moving with your feet, literally moving to another country, to another state, or voting with your money. One of the most powerful things we have, because we all have money to some degree, voting with our money, saying, I'm opting out, I'm working on this network, I'm using this technology, I'm using this money, I'm not using that money. The more that happens, the more this network goes away, and the more the new network built for all people, like the Bitcoin network, works and works for all people, leveling the playing field. This is the fight for the new internet and freedom for people all around the world. Is America going to let other countries and snake oil salesmen like SBF take away monetary freedom and power from the global leader in freedom? Stay strong. Again, this is a world problem. We're all in this together. This is a war. We're in World War III. However you want to call it, whatever you want to caption it, acronym, whatever, World War E, World War III, we're in it. This is incredibly important. I mean, look at the things going on. This is what Bitcoin and Bitcoiners, Satoshi Nakamoto, set out to stop, right? The Genesis block. In there, the note to everyone. Chancellor on the brink of second bailout. It was about the money, the value of money. and being able to transact with people, but having something that no one else could steal from you. It's our time. Please, if you like this, like and subscribe to this. Please share it. If someone you know like it, can use it, maybe on the edge, something like that. If you don't like it, please dislike it. Please tell us what we know, what we can do better, how we could better serve you, what else you would like to see. We appreciate your time and energy. It's the most important asset we have, the only finite asset we have besides Bitcoin. Bitcoin is time, and time is Bitcoin. Thank you for spending that time with us. We look forward to seeing you on the next one.